Q&A every morning, 9 a.m. We'll see how this goes. So I posted yesterday that we're going to do this, and we had some comments. And by the way, if you have any questions that you want me to answer in tomorrow's video, put your comments or questions underneath this video. So we're going to do this Q&A every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. These are questions from yesterday's video. I've summarized the questions, okay? This one was in reference to how do we get around mind blindness? Okay. Well, one of the hardest realities of ASD is that insight itself doesn't automatically generalize. So many autistic people can apply logic very well to external situations, but struggle to apply that same reasoning to themselves in real time because self-reflection and perspective taking use different cognitive processes than abstract reasoning. So instead of trying to prove they're being inconsistent, you may want to invite them into curiosity. So this was an NT wife referring to an ASD husband. So you can ask questions like, for example, if a friend did this to you, how do you think that might make you feel? Or what advice would you give someone else in that situation? You're kind of trying to appeal to his logic in a sense. So sometimes creating emotional distance allows them to access empathy that isn't immediately available when they feel personally involved. Progress is going to be slow and repetition matters. The goal here isn't to win an argument, it's to gently build the mental bridge between their perspective and someone else's. And that bridge often has to be crossed hundreds of times before it becomes a habit. So in summary, think in terms of appealing to their logic. Think in terms of facts, figures, numbers, graphs. I know that totally removes the emotional content. But if you want to get around the mind blindness thing, the best way you can do that is to appeal to your ASD's husband's logic. He's very logical, although his logic probably doesn't match up with yours and vice versa. If you need some examples of exactly how to do that, because I know that's terribly abstract, just schedule a private coaching session with me, and preferably with him. The second question, and I've summarized this too, how do I bring up concerns without everything becoming about his anxiety? Okay, well, that's pretty much common across the board. So for many autistic partners, feedback isn't processed as information. Your heart's in the right place. You're doing the best that you can, but your feedback is processed as danger. The ASD spouse's nervous system hears you're failing long before his thinking brain hears, oh, I'd like for us to solve a problem together. I know in an ideal world, he would be a team player. Unfortunately, the ASD husband in this case is very much a solo player who happens to be married. And in many cases, as much as I hate to say this, she has become his #1 source of anxiety. So even her neutral comments get downloaded as criticism. So while it's helpful to begin conversations with reassurances like I love you and this isn't about your worth, or this is something I'd like to resolve, it's a problem, and I'm not calling you, I'm not saying that you are the problem. So that's all nice, but remember that you're not responsible for regulating all of their anxiety before your needs matter. So if every concern turns into comforting your spouse, then your voice slowly disappears from the relationship. And when that happens, it's okay to just gently redirect back. And you can say something along the lines of, I understand this is bringing up anxiety for you, and I'm willing to talk about that afterward. But first, I'd like you to understand what I'm experiencing. So healthy neurodiverse relationships make room for both people's emotions, not just the loudest nervous system in the room, okay? The third comment or question that has been summarized was in reference to this: zero intimacy with my ASD partner. I don't know what to do anymore. Okay, that comes up a lot. Years without emotional or physical intimacy can create profound loneliness. You're living it, even when two people share the same home, right? He's on the couch right over there, but it's almost, some NT wives say, I'd rather be alone and feel lonely than be with someone and feel lonely. So ASD can absolutely affect emotional expression, affection, sexual connection, and awareness of a partner's needs, but it doesn't automatically mean intimacy is impossible. So the more important question here is whether your partner is willing to learn and work on the relationship. If there is some openness, emphasis on if there is openness, couples counseling with someone experienced in neurodiverse relationships can help rebuild the connection. Wouldn't have to be me, but he's going to have to seek some kind of outside assistance from somebody who has expertise in ASD. If there is no willingness to acknowledge the problem or make changes, then you may have to ask yourself honestly how much longer you're willing to continue living with your needs chronically unmet and where you're kind of, in many cases, bending over backwards to accommodate him. Now, your loyalty is admirable, but it shouldn't require abandoning yourself. So before making decisions about another relationship, focus on gaining clarity about what kind of marriage is realistically possible when both of you are wired completely differently, as in like 180 degrees. The fourth one, this was in regard to, could my ASDX really have no idea how sick I am? And that's a summary of the question. She described an illness, and he seemed to be oblivious. Yes, it is possible. Many people on the autism spectrum don't naturally infer another person's emotional or physical experience unless it's communicated very directly or becomes part of a routine they understand. Some of them assume that if you haven't specifically asked for help, everything must be manageable. Your ASD spouse is very much independent, self-sufficient, autonomous. He just assumes that you are the same. He probably would not, in most cases, want to reach out to you if he were in some kind of emotional pain. He'd just rather not talk about it. And other spouses with ASD genuinely don't think to ask that neurotypical people would consider obvious expressions of care. That doesn't mean your pain isn't real or that your hurt is unjustified. It's deeply painful to be ill and feel invisible to someone who once mattered to you. At the same time, it's important to separate intention from impact. Even if his lack of concern wasn't meant to wound you, the wound is still real. Your feelings deserve compassion, and healing often begins by seeking support from people who naturally respond with empathy, rather than continuing to hope that someone with limited emotional awareness will suddenly become the comfort you need. And the last one for today was, this is summarized as well. It was in reference to, I'm overwhelmed, where do I even start? Okay, well, first of all, that sounds like Cassandra syndrome. If you A, overwhelmed, B, have no idea where to start. So when you've spent years compensating for your spouse's executive functioning, organization, planning, social difficulties, sensory sensitivities, and on and on and on, it's easy to feel like you're carrying the entire household on your shoulders. I hear that all the time. The NT wife doing all the relationship work. Now, the temptation is to fix everything at once, but that never leads to anything positive other than burnout, which is not positive. So instead, ask yourself one simple question. What one change would reduce my stress the most today? Okay? Don't try to tackle everything at once. Now you have a starting place. You said you're overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. Okay. One change today that will reduce your stress. We're going to start small. Maybe it's no longer picking up his clothes. Maybe it's having him manage one bill each week. Maybe it's setting one communication routine that prevents constant misunderstandings. So start with the area causing the greatest daily drain rather than trying to solve every autism-related challenge simultaneously. Small, consistent changes create momentum. You don't need a perfect plan here. We're not going to try to tackle 10 things at once. One thing a day. One thing a day. Did you hear that? One thing a day. So your goal here isn't to become carefree and just, do nothing. But instead of ruminating about 25 loose ends, let's pick one thing today, one little thing today that can reduce your stress, okay? So your goal is to build a relationship where responsibility is shared as much as each person's abilities allow. Now, I think that's it for today. If I'm going to try this again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. If you have any questions, dump it underneath this video and I'll be answering those tomorrow. Okay? Thanks.